Hey guys, and welcome to my new Let's Code tutorial series. This was going to be on something called Note Me Up. Now I had a message from a Michael Nielsen on YouTube, and he said to me that he'd like some sort of note making application, so I thought that would be the next series we'd run on the Let's Code, similar to when we've done the Star Blaster and the Finance Tracker. So all I've done in this first app so far is I've just created a very basic application. I've made it called Note Me Up. And you can call it whatever you want to call it, but if you're sticking with the tutorials, I suggest you call it the same thing. Now I have added a couple of things to start with. So firstly, the images, which are just the ones I've created to make the application look a bit neater when we're kind of working with it, and a little image to show when we run the emulator. And then other than that, I've added the dark theme buttons. These are all to do with the app bar that will go along the bottom of the screen, because we're going to force the application to be in dark mode, and we're going to need the dark package because all of these images are in fact white, so that you can see them over the dark background. Now if you don't know where you can find them, I do believe it's under C, Program Files, Microsoft SDK, Windows Phone, and it should be in there somewhere. I'll try and find the exact link, source of them, and I'll put it in the comment section of this application. So I'll also add the link so that you can get hold of these pictures if you want them, and I'll also send you a link to where you could download this whole application to save you writing it out if you wanted to just download it and look at the code and understand how the code works. So all I've actually done in this first application here is just cleared the page of all of its kind of rubbish, just got a nice simple grid, made the system tray invisible so that it's full screen application. I've added the logo in the top left corner. I've not named it yet, it's just an image, and it's just pointing at the logo that I created with the correct size of width and height. And I've added a text block. Now the text block does have some code behind it at the moment, so I've just called it date TB to stand for text block, just to kind of keep everything a bit shorthand and stop us writing out excessive amounts of stuff. I've written today's date just in text, just so that there's something to look at in the designer. But what will actually happen is we'll go over to the code now and we'll have a look here. So in the code, we'll see that as soon as the application starts, we get the date text block text, and we set it to the words today's date with a colon there, and then we add the date time today to short date string. Now what that will do is that will give us the date, the month, and the year, so that they know what the day is today when they're looking through their note application. And we'll also be able to use this code again at other points during this application to keep notes in the most recently edited order. So we'll have them when they save their notes, it will keep that note higher up the list if they want to sort it by the date they created the note or when it was most recently updated. So at the moment we've got it pretty simple. We've just got a nice little bit of text here, as I said, which creates the today's date and gives them the date, month, and year. Then we've got a bit of text which will be create app bar. Now we have to add this bit of create app bar text into the initializing part of the app, because if we don't, then it won't show up. And all we've literally done here is something very, very simple. We're just creating application bar here. We're adding a new icon button, and I've called it add button because it's going to be to add a new note. I've set the kind of source of the image to be the dark add icon, which is a little plus, because that's what we're going to want it to show. So as you can see, it's under assets dark add.png, and in our application here we've got assets dark and add png. So you again will have the same once you've copied the dark folder over into your application, but again I will leave that in the description so that you know where to find those pictures. Then here we just simply have the add button, the text of it to say new note. So that means when we open up the little bar at the bottom, it gives them an idea of what that button's going to do if it's not already clear enough. Then we're just going to call back to the application bar that we created up here, and we're just going to go buttons add, and we're going to add the new button that we just created to that list. Now just to finish it off, that button needs a click event, otherwise it's not going to do anything. So we set the click event of that button to be a new event handler, which will be called add click, which of course, as you can see below, is private void add click. So at the moment it doesn't do anything. We could put a message box message in there just to make sure it's working, but we know that should work. There isn't going to be a problem with that. So all that's left to do now is for me to run the application up, show you what it creates so far, and we'll have a little look. So as you can see, we've opened up the application. It says today's date is the 2nd 10th 2015. Now the reason it's in that order is of course because it's in the American date order, if I'm not wrong, but it's definitely not the English one, over in the UK, sorry. So it's the second month, so it's February, it's the 10th of February 2015. So tomorrow, conveniently, that should read the 11th of the 11th of the 2nd. So going down the bottom here, you'll see we've got our application bar which was created. Now because we added that bit of code which says create app bar, that then ran the code we had written for the application bar, and now if you can see here, there's the plus symbol. It doesn't do anything at the moment, but if we wanted to know what that did, we could press the little dots here and it says new note. And that little new note bit there is what we added to the button text so that people could understand what it was they were about to do. So that's it from the application side of things. The only other thing I will say is if we look at the application on here, it's actually got a custom little thumbnail here, which is a nice little logo for it, so that it kind of is nice and neat. I've also corrected the writing on when you kind of deploy it. We don't want it to be like note me up without spaces. So I'll quickly show you how I've done that, and that's by simply going into the properties, the WM app manifest. The display name here is what we were just looking at a moment ago, where I've just added some spaces between it. I've added a little description, just keep it neat, you know, so there's nothing kind of boring in that box. I've added the app icon to this square version of the logo, and I've also done a small and a medium to the same one so that they can have them. I haven't done support for large tiles because there's no need to have a large tile for this kind of application. So that's it for the first video. That's going to be our main page where people will be able to create their notes, and then the notes will show up on the screen. They'll be able to choose what order they want to view them in, and once they're in them they can edit them or delete them. So I hope that was nice and clear. As I said, I'll leave a link in the description to the Student Dev website where you'll be able to download the images to this and even the full application if you gain access to it. So I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter, subscribe, and check out my Patreon page. I'll see you in the next one, guys.